Welcome to the Frandreview. This episode, we're reviewing Kong, Skull Island. We'll catch you back here at the end for our final thoughts.
3.
Directed by Jordan Voight Roberts, who brought us the indie classic Kings of Summer. I can't speak like that's going to be so hard for me to turn it off now. So, Kong Skull Island. Directed by Jordan Voight Roberts, who brought us the indie classic Kings of Summer. Seriously, I'm trying to do that. It's because I have it so rehearsed. Like I have the name so rehearsed. Okay, we'll do starring first. Starring Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, Brie Larson, John Goodman, John C. Reilly. Absolutely star-studded cast.
Kong Skull Island is set in the 1970s and revolves around the organization Monarch, which we were introduced to in the 2014 Godzilla film that Gareth Edwards directed. So essentially, this company Monarch, it's very small still at this stage in the game, and they are trying to track down things that they call massive unidentified terrestrial organisms, beings like Godzilla. And they think that on an island in the South Pacific, Skull Island, which has never been explored by people from Western civilization, that one of these Mutos exists there. So they get the United States military to escort them onto this island, and of course they end up finding one of these Mutos, Kong, the titular character, and shit goes down, and these people get stranded on the island, and they have to find their way off without getting killed by the native inhabitants.
I had an absolute blast watching this movie. The tone was very light and fun, and it's really exactly what I personally wanted to see in a kaiju movie.
So I think I might be a little bit biased when it comes to movies of this nature. I'm a huge kaiju fan. I love the Japanese Godzilla movies, and I collect them, and I think they're fantastic. And I really enjoyed the 2014 Gareth Edwards Godzilla movie. I thought it was very good, and it was a huge step above the 1998 Godzilla movie, and it got pretty close to achieving that same sort of fun and the spirit of the Japanese kaiju movies. Didn't quite hit it. I had a few problems with the film, fucking airport scene. But with Kong, I can say pretty definitively that they are one step closer to fucking nailing that tone of the Japanese kaiju movies. Once again, there were a few shortfalls that I felt, and it didn't quite hit those heights in terms of enjoyment for me. But it's getting there, and I think that we're on a really strong path to Legendary creating a fantastic American kaiju universe for themselves.
Whereas Kong features brilliant action scenes, characters that you actually care about, brilliant cinematography. There's action, there's adventure, there's laughs. The Japanese Godzilla film features meetings and subtitles and bureaucracy and subtitles and meetings and more subtitles and sadness. Lots and lots of sadness and subtitles and meetings and subtitles and meetings and sadness.
Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great.
The first thing I really want to highlight is kind of the first thing that I noticed going into this movie. It was the color correction. It was spectacular. I never really thought about how drab and dry and droll all the movies we're seeing these days are until I saw this movie. It was saturated, and it was gorgeous looking and lush, and it really kind of distracted from some of the more negative aspects of the film, just how beautiful the whole picture looked overall.
The casting was incredible. I mean, if anything, it was overcast, but that didn't really take away from anything. It just felt like there were these incredible actors that were being underutilized. John C. Reilly's performance was incredible. I feel like he nailed all of his lines, and having him in the comedic relief role was just a brilliant choice as far as casting is concerned. The action in this movie was really exciting, and it was big, and it was exactly what I wanted to see in a kaiju film. Specifically the fight at the end of the film between Kong and the creature that he fights. I don't want to give anything away for people who might want to see the movie. No, I don't want to say that. So, specifically the fight at the end of the film between Kong and the weird lizard creature thing was fucking epic and really exciting to see and really well thought out, and I really enjoyed it.
I'd also like to draw attention to the consistency of tone in the movie. Throughout the entire film, was this overall feeling of fun and excitement that I thought was amazing. That's one of my favorite things about the Japanese films, is that they're always really fun, they don't take themselves too seriously, and they just go all out in terms of action and spectacle, and I thought this movie had that down in spades.
Now on to the issues that I had with this movie. They're pretty minor and really didn't affect my experience while I was viewing it. It's more just upon reflection, I noticed a few things that could have been done better. So first thing is the editing. I feel like there's a lot of moments in the film that, could have been handled differently, or, they could have shown me a few different shots that would have really helped to support some of the motivation of the characters, or made a little bit more sense of what was happening. Secondly, the directing was a bit of an issue. You can tell he's not a super seasoned director, and there are some choices that he made that I feel like he could have gone further, or, taken some stuff out that didn't need to be there. And while it wasn't a huge issue, I think it took away from the overall plot and, potential of this movie.
One of the problems I had with the 2014 Godzilla movie was the production design. So I love the design of Godzilla. I thought he looked amazing. Might be my favorite look of him ever, rivaling even the Millennium series of the Japanese movies. But the monsters he was fighting in that movie, I thought looked really generic and really stupid. It was like that J.J. Abrams crap where it just looks like the same monster cut out again and again and again. And I just didn't think it was interesting and didn't think it was very well thought out. And I thought there was just 1,000 other routes they could have gone with that would have been more interesting. Whereas Kong, I enjoyed it way more. I thought Kong looked incredible, of course, and I thought the inhabitants of the island, the giant creatures, all looked really cool and were really well fleshed out and just had a really great look to them. And then the main bad guy that Kong faces, the skull crawlers, I think John C. Reilly calls them, they looked really, really good. And then they harken back to kaiju movies because they're these big lizards, and I thought they kind of had a unique look to them. They weren't like four-legged, they only had two legs. And they moved around very uniquely and cool and were very quick. And so I really enjoyed that in the movie. I thought the production design was just fabulous.
And finally, Samuel L. Jackson's character, don't fucking remember his name. I feel like he was just ill-conceived in a lot of ways. His motivation really wasn't clear, though it was stated. I didn't buy it. People kept calling him crazy, but he didn't really seem that crazy. And he had this bloodthirst to have Kong killed that really seemed kind of unmotivated and kind of out of nowhere. So I think they could have done more to sell me on those traits and his motivation.
Now on to the things that I thought could have been better. So like I said, I was very distracted in this movie by the excitement and the breakneck pace and the beautiful colors and all that. Like I was very sort of enamored with all that stuff going on. But it's still, I felt like the movie was really lacking when it came to its pacing, some of the writing, and the editing to me. I really liked how the movie began. It was very quickly cut, and it was a breakneck pace. It was very, very quick. But it never really stopped. It never really slowed down, which isn't a problem, I guess, if you keep doing that for a long time. But it sort of kept at a breakneck pace for a little bit too long, and then when it did slow down, it felt too little too late, and then I didn't understand what was happening. Like, I didn't know. I feel like most movies have a flow usually. Like, you can kind of tell when the climax is coming, and you sort of know when to be excited and when to calm down and when you have a breather. And this movie, I never really got a sense of when I was supposed to be taking a breather, when I was supposed to be getting excited. So there would be this huge climactic scene out of nowhere to me, kind of, and then I would be like, oh shit, I was supposed to be excited, and I don't know, it kind of detracted to the moments overall. So that's one thing to take note. I thought the pacing was just a bit off for me. I think the movie would be very enjoyable the second time around, just because you know what to expect. And I do think that I will enjoy it way more the second time around.
And we're back. So, final thoughts.
Overall, I think I really enjoyed it. I think if I were to like give my thoughts on it, I don't think like the layman, like the average person, probably needs to go see this in the theaters. Like, I think they could wait to see it on Netflix or wait to see it on Blu-ray. But I think if you're a fan of kaiju movies, I think if you're a fan of like Pacific Rim of Godzilla, of just giant monster movies in general. I think this movie is essential. You just have to see it for yourself to see the spectacle of it. I really enjoyed it overall. Like I said, I think that America is still like they're getting their grips with this genre. Like it's they're not used to it, and I think the two movies that we've seen, I think they're getting every time it's a step closer. And I think, like they said, I think they're setting up for a third Godzilla movie, obviously. So I think with this third Godzilla movie, hopefully they really reach their stride with that one. And then when we eventually get to the Godzilla vs. Kong movie, that'll be like the big fucking showstopper. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, if you like kaiju movies, definitely go see this movie in theaters. But I think for the general populace, you probably wait for it on Netflix. It's a really fun summer popcorn movie, blockbuster. Just a ton of fun.
I was gonna say I actually disagree with you there. I think you should go see it in theaters just because it was such a fun experience. Of the last few movies, this has been my last 3 or 4 we've reviewed. This has been my favorite one, the one I've had the most fun with, the one I had the best experience in the theater watching. So I would say just on that alone, maybe go see it in theaters because it is a really fun experience, a really fun movie. I'm going to give it 5.5 tiers out of 7 bacon just because I had a lot of fun. I think that definitely had some problems like we discussed, but overall it was just a really funny, fun experience and I really enjoyed it.
Definitely, if you go see it in theaters, definitely stick around after the credits. I mean, most people won't give a fuck about that, I guess. But I mean, like, if you know anything about the Godzilla movies, stick around until after the credits because there's a fucking awesome little stinger at the end that sets up for the future of the franchise, and it was very exciting. Probably my favorite part of the whole thing, actually, just because it got me so giddy for a future Godzilla movie. You get to hear Godzilla's roar at the end, which is really cool. Cool. Super fun movie.
I think next we might be reviewing Goon 2.
Goon 2, The Last Enforcer.
So, see you for
Check that
that
out.
review.